Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. I'm Mark Owen. In this edition, why are there still political prisoners being held in jail in Burma? Aung San Suu Kyi's party, the National League for Democracy, won the election, heralding a new dawn for a state that had spent some 50 years under a military dictatorship. 10,000 people or more have been jailed in that time for their political views. And these most famously included Aung San Suu Kyi herself. But even now, campaigners say there are still some 250 people behind bars because their views didn't fit with the old regime. Meanwhile, for those who get back their freedom, adjusting to life on the outside can be difficult.
If you need anything, don't hesitate to tell me. I'm at your disposal. You live here now?
Yes.
Okay, see you later.
Before being imprisoned, Tan Min Aung was an engineer in Rangoon, Burma. In 2003, he went into exile in Malaysia, where he began to comprehend the real situation in his country. The contrast was shocking. He decided to return to Burma to join the opposition. Arrested for fighting the junta, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
I was first tortured in an interrogation center. They only let me sleep for 15 minutes at a time. I had but one obsession: to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw people coming to beat me. Like monsters trying to strike me with huge hammers. Sometimes the nightmares became unbearable. And that was just the beginning. The conditions were worse in prison. After my release, my mother helped us a lot. She brought us food, but we couldn't depend on her forever.
This is the border crossing in Mae Sot, the first city in Thailand after the Burmese border. It's here, at the height of the repression, that activists hunted by the regime sought refuge. In the late 1990s, up to 3,000 were in hiding here.
My name is Pochi. I am former political prisoner. I had been arrested for 2 times. For the first time, I was arrested because I did demonstration calling for the release of all political prisoners. Then for the second time, I was arrested because Burmese military intelligence. They offered me to be an informer for them. I demanded just only 2 points. One is to release all political prisoners. Second is to enter dialogue with Aung San Suu Kyi successfully. They denied my proposal. Therefore, I denied their proposal to be an informer for them. Therefore, they arrested me again, and also they sentenced me for 5 years.
In the late 90s, during the student protests, Bo Chi learned that he was wanted by the government. To avoid being arrested a third time, he decided to flee illegally across the Thai border. There, in Mae Sot, Bo Chi found other activists and created the AAPP, the Association for Assistance to Political Prisoners.
AAPP is doing legal assistance to political detainees. Government did not do anything for the reintegration for former political prisoners. Government did not take any responsibility on it. What we are doing is to advocate for the release of all political prisoners, and then before they were released, so we are helping them as much as we can in order to improve prison situation. And also we have like the rehabilitation program for former political prisoners and their family members.
In early 2011, the military junta was officially dissolved. Bo Chi made contact with Ko So, his former cellmate. He offered him the job of leading the AAPP in Rangoon, now that the organisation was authorised back in Burma. The massive prisoner amnesty programme that followed meant the launch of a huge field operation.
This is the APR pics and the picture. They are all former political prisoners, and the name on their pen in prison. So they demand to release all political prisoners immediately and unconditionally. This is Wimo, also former political prisoner. Now he is journalist in New York Times, and on his pen is Saw Tatum. This is my name, and he demands to release me. There's many prisons in our country. There is the prison that I will show you the prison I was kept. Firstly, when I was arrested in Rangoon 1991, I was kept in Rangoon as a prison. Second time, I was re-arrested in 1999, and firstly, I was kept in SA prison just 3 months, and then I was transferred to Tawri prison. As I was kept in Tawri for 12 years. The most political prisoner is in Tawri prison, the SA prisons. And then I would like to explain about it. This is very, very important. This is the vision, mission, objective, and APP activities. After release, we should have our right to safe participation in democratization process, because we are disturbed. We were disturbed after prison, not only in prison, but many people think we were tortured in prison. After prison, it's all okay, but not like that.
Systematic torture and mistreatment in Burma's prisons have lasting consequences. Detainees' physical and psychological scars are hard to heal. They cause a lifetime of distress, and there are few treatments.
Most former political prisoners have psychological problems. Myself, I became one of these people after my release. Also, for some, their families have broken after release from prison. Burmese society is not very familiar with psychology. When you talk about mental health or counseling, people immediately associate it with mental illness. A psychiatric hospital is called a prison for the insane.
Dr. Min Oo has been a general practitioner for 35 years. Considered an activist by the military regime, he was arrested several times. His crime? Working to improve the health of the Burmese people. He's now launched a support program for former political prisoners.
I'm not specialized in the mental health or trauma. So we are not trained specialist psychiatrists. Burma has a very few psychiatrists, only 100 psychiatrists for that 51 million people.
Next, I have a few questions about how you feel, your emotions and your thoughts. The impact of the troubles on your feelings and emotions, can you quantify it on a scale from 0 to 9?
When I have these kind of symptoms, I do not feel good. It disturbs my activities.
Right, give me a number for that.
So let's put a 5.
Patient or like client themselves, they don't want to elaborate their mental feeling. Some are suffering still depression. Some have anxiety. Some still suffer PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Our culture, they don't want to feel like crazy men, like insane men, as a mental sufferers. If you see something mentally distressed, they call it you are a you. A you mean you are fool, or you are insane, or you are the crazy man. So that's one of the culture we are facing now here. Re-entry into the society is very, very difficult to them. Some resorted to use the drugs and alcohols and sort of thing like that. So that's a problem here for the alcoholic. No alcoholic anonymous in our country. So a lot of alcohol you can buy here. Alcohol is cheaper than water.
More than 80% of Burma's population is Buddhist. Religion plays a central role in society. And culturally, it seems to almost replace psychology.
The religious leaders, they also improve their mental illness or mental like in mental health improvement. So Burmese, their Dhamma is don't do any evil, do good and purify your mind. So that's why I think Burma has a lot of potential to improve the mental health. But previous successive governments do not care about that program.
Faced with a lack of medical experience, the AAPP has developed a counselling program for former detainees, developed by the American Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. The AAPP is largely funded by the United States. The association's psychological program began in Rangoon in 2013.
Firstly, we approach to a former political prisoner, and then we doing assessment. These are the 147 questions I asked in the record, and then we know the counselor knows he is there, trauma, so that's why he's a client. And then at least the counselor have to meet the client at least 8 sessions to 12 sessions.
The association prefers to call those it deals with customers rather than patients. In Burma, the word patient remains culturally associated with disease. Since the beginning of the counselling programme, the AAPP has received over 500 former political prisoners.
When we started, we have challenge difficulties, We said counseling, but, many people here in our country, including me, are misunderstand about the meanings of counseling. Just like in HIV AIDS carrier patient, something like that. So we educate, we explain. Counseling is nothing concerned with crazy and HIV, but normal people have this kind of trauma. So we explain. That's why.
Wana Luin and Kiao U met in 2008. They were arrested at the same time and shared a cell. In prison, Kiao U was victimised by the military. Psychologically broken, he was helped back onto his feet by the AAPP.
The government tried to stir up trouble between us. They wanted to pass him off as one of their informers. At that time, he was in bad shape, and he cried a lot.
At the first consultation, I talked openly. That wasn't easy. But then I realized it was good for me. Before counseling, I got angry really easily, and when they recommended this treatment, at first I refused. But people insisted. In the end, it really changed my life.
The Burmese former political prisoners form a close community. Almost everyone knows each other. When they're freed, they often only count on those they met in prison.
It looks like Kokyu U will be sports minister.
Then you can get us a football pitch.
Are you kidding? The list of ministers is already done.
Wana Luin and Kiao U are part of a football team made up entirely of former detainees. They're a small group, but the bonds between them are tight.
Ah, missed.
In Rangoon, the AAPP's psychological support program now has around 20 counsellors. All are former political prisoners, perhaps the best qualified to listen to those who need to talk. Tan Min Aung has become one of the counsellors. The AAPP hired him when he was at his lowest point. Before joining the association, he'd received no psychological support.
Before becoming an advisor, I couldn't even talk about the interrogation center. Whenever I spoke about it, it made me cry. I felt very bad, and it was making me angry. After becoming a counselor, I felt better and better. But I had forgotten the period following my release. This is the first time I've talked about it. and I realize that it does me good. With all the countries been through, there's no doubt that Burmese society is traumatized. In Burma, the population needs psychological help.
And thank you very much for watching our film. You can see it again, of course, via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us.